Good morning. This is Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, Winter Edition 2026. It is the beginning of a new year. I hopped on Friday real quick just to say, hey, I'm still going to be around. I haven't been around for the last week or so taking a vacation, and now I am back. Memory Monday. All right, so as I was turning on the phone, I looked over here to my white snow. Do you see the little pile of black? That's a Niger seed. And I think God was supplying the squirrels with some seed. Because lately we've been finding a lot more seed on the ground. And we have it to where the squirrels aren't supposed to get to it. However, they may have figured it out. They've been working on it for years. It just goes to show tenaciousness. Squirrels are tenacious, if anything. If you ever seen those videos of squirrels that are, they have to do an obstacle course to get to the bird feed, and they learn the obstacle course. They just keep going. They just keep at it, trying to figure it all out. We have them up high to keep them from the bears. We have lost several to bears because bears will figure it out as well. Oh, if humans had the tenaciousness of animals. But what happens? See, they run on instinct. And we try to run on our own wit. Sometimes we get in our own way. That's why we need the mind of Christ. Because our ways are not God's ways. And the way the earth was made, the way the system flows in nature, what is natural, it's had a couple of bumps because of humans getting in the way. Humans have gotten in the way of different things. You know, we're going to help this animal and thereby causing another problem by another species. Or we're going to take care of this problem with this and create yet another problem. We keep thinking that we're doing better things. Here, try margarine. Let's change the structure of wheat so it gives us more yield. And in doing so, we have caused an epidemic of gastrointestinal issues, if you will. Autoimmunes, sensitivities to gluten, more gluten intolerances. I personally have a sensitivity to gluten. But it's not me. It's the gluten. It's what has been processed, especially in the United States. If you've ever noticed people with gluten sensitivities that go over to Europe and they come back and they go, wait, I ate bread and it didn't bother me. The processing. I'm not here to talk about processing right now. I'm talking about getting in our own way. Because we think we're doing the better thing. Sometimes in the middle of something that you're doing, you need to pivot. Just pivot a little bit. You're off course. Move over. Sometimes you just need a do-over. Sometimes you need to reframe. Stop what you're doing. Take inventory. You know, the Bible talks about knowing your flocks and herds. That's taking inventory. That's knowing what you have and what you don't have. And how often do we do that? Oh, sometimes we do it when we're calculating assets. But a lot of times there's hidden assets that you miss. Sometimes it has nothing to do with finances. It has to do with maybe degrees, maybe things you've learned along life's path. A lot of people learn a lot of skills throughout life. You get caught up in those things you don't have. Well, this is not. These are impromptu, for the most part. And it all started by me hitting go and seeing some Niger seed on the ground. And the birds are not happy about it. Actually, most of the Niger eaters have already skedaddled. And so we only really, once that Niger seed is empty, we just fill up the other one. Just like the hummingbirds are now gone, so we no longer have hummingbird food out for anybody, which we make from scratch. We don't buy the stuff from the store. We don't color it. They don't need things that are unhealthy for them. It's just a supplement. We find more of them going to our flowers than we do to the hummingbird feeders. And our flowers are not super grown with things that would be unhealthy for them. You have to be careful of what you're feeding the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees. Because what you feed them inevitably goes into them. And just like the food that you eat, the wheat, the hamburger, think about the whole hamburger. What goes on the hamburger? You know, you got mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is made with eggs. You got beef, you got lettuce. How many people have died? I've actually known people who have died from E. coli by eating lettuce that was contaminated. There was a recall done on some lettuce, well over a decade ago, probably two decades ago. There was a recall on lettuce, but not soon enough before somebody that I had known died of it. Yes, she had some health issues. I think she was diabetic, like diabetes 1 or something. But she shouldn't have to worry about the foods she eats when she eats healthy. Quote, healthy. What we put into our bodies matters. What we put into our bodies physically matters. Now, for those of you who don't normally see me, I've been on here for 10 years. Everything I say usually doesn't have anything to do with what I'm saying. It usually comes back to a spiritual concept. But sometimes it is physical, sometimes it is mental, and sometimes it is spiritual. And sometimes it can be all three. Or a mixed match. So when I'm talking about what is put into our food, so that we have higher yields to feed more people. But all you're doing is feeding them poison for a slow death, and for some, a quick one. When you think about what you're doing to the food that we eat, that it gets passed down to us. And the food that we feed our minds, the food that we feed our minds. This was a note that I had put in my notes for thoughts about these. So let's bring that one in. It had to do with me watching YouTube the other day and the things that I'm subscribed to. Now, I'm not subscribed to a whole lot of stuff, and most of them are pastors that happen to have their a YouTube, and so I'm following them just a little bit, because it's like, oh, I might gain some wisdom from these various different types and different styles of pastors. And I have a few other things that I look at. For example, there's a couple of people that I follow that are, I gotta think of what they're called, like body analysis, facial analysis, where they can tell whether a person is being squeamish about something, whether they're proud, whether they're possibly lying. There's multiple things that go into it. It's not just a telltale thing and then that's solidified what it is. It depends on the individual and how they present themselves on a normal basis. I'm very, very Jerry Lewis style with my expressions. I'm always got some kind of expression on my face, and sometimes it's very serious and sometimes it's not serious at all. So, with that, I'd be really interested on what a body analysis person would say about me. So I watch these, right? And for the most part, the body analysis person is coming from a very neutral plane. They're not trying to suggest this or suggest that. They're just looking at the behavior and saying, okay, from the behavior, you can deduct this. And sometimes, some of the things that I'm watching, that they're analyzing, can be very negative. Like the content itself, not the body analysis guy, but the person themselves are like, it's a very dramatized situation, because all of these are YouTube clips, whether they're from interviews or conferences or whatever they are. They're catching these people on film, they're on YouTube, other people are saying, hey, could you analyze this video? And so the person analyzes it. They come from a very neutral space, but the content is not always neutral. And then I was listening to this other guy because he's very informative about what's going on around the rest of the world, not necessarily the United States. But this guy, I don't know why I watch him, because it's just so negative. It's so negative. And I'm sitting there watching these the other day going, oh my Lord, I'm spending a whole lot of time feeding my brain a whole lot of negativity, even though I don't have an attachment to it. I don't have an attachment to it. It's in my notifications. Let me watch it. I'm waiting for something else. So, while I'm waiting, I'll just watch this. And lo and behold, I feed my brain with a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be fed. So starting out this new year, I always start with SMART goals. I don't always achieve them. I don't do resolutions because resolutions are promises to yourself. That's all they are. Promises to yourself. You failed the promise to yourself. How do you trust yourself? It goes down the spiraling hole of, well, you know, us looking at our value by what we do or don't do. And that's not a healthy way of doing things. So SMART goals are something that you do for 90 days. 90 days, that's it. 90 days. Now, you may continue to do that SMART goal after that 90 days for another 90 days. You don't hold yourself to a year or for a lifetime or forever and ever. It is a 90-day deal. SMART goals are simple. They are measurable. They are, if I can remember what the A is right now, R is repeatable. T is there's a time frame. You got 90 days. I'll remember what the A is. Right now I'm not really thinking about it too much. Because I do the SMART goal, I don't necessarily sit there and spell out the acronym every 90 days. Achievable. There we go. Achievable. So, simple, measurable, achievable, repeatable, time. I think the R can also stand for something else. I've heard two different ways of saying that. But so something simple. Going to floss my teeth every day. Okay, not everybody flosses their teeth every day. That's not my SMART goal. But there are people that are like, you know what? I should take better care of my dental health, so I should floss my teeth every day. So they become this person that every morning they go and they floss their teeth, or every afternoon, or before bed, or whenever they do it, devoted to just simply flossing their teeth. Not going to take over the world, not going to write a book, not going to get a promotion at work by busting my tail off. Not going to, it's something simple, achievable, right? Everybody can floss their teeth. There are people who have no hands that get their teeth flossed. If they have to do it with their toes. Well, not necessarily their toes, the flosses. You know what I mean. So it is achievable to floss your teeth. But if you do that for 90 days, it might become a habit, a good habit. Now for me, I have this ability to do something for years and years and years, and then something comes up and I don't get to do it for a couple of days, and the next thing I know, I have totally lost that habit. Gone. Not even a thought in my mind. I have pivoted on to other things in a bad way. So, because it's the beginning of the year, it's a good time to think about SMART goals. And part of that is not listening to all the negativity that I am feeding my brain with YouTube. Used to be Facebook. Used to read through posts of negative comments, negative stuff. Now it's YouTube. Everybody and their brother has a YouTube channel. Oh, including me! Ha! So there you go. And then they all want to spill out everything that they have going on that they know about by other content on YouTube. Normally. or what they've heard on the news. Very rarely is it anybody. Today, journalism isn't the person going out on the trenches to find out all the information anymore. They just hit the internet. And they find out what is on the internet. And they base their story off of that versus actual accounts. I have an example of that. There was a young journalist that came to a ceremony that we were doing for Beirut veterans as a memorial. And so he was asking the story from the people that were there. And they were telling him, it was Sunday morning or 6:22 in the morning, and 6:22, 6:23, something like that. When the Beirut bombing took place. He went back, he wrote his article based on eyewitnesses, people that were there. His editor said, "Oh no, you have it wrong. It happened in the evening." The editor shouldn't be an editor. He was taking from his experience. See, I was in North Carolina at the time at New River Air Station as a truck driver in the United States Marine Corps. And I remember that night because we had to go down to the motor pool to prepare the vehicles in case they were to be shipped out for war. In the U.S., it was night. But in Beirut, Lebanon, it was morning. What went to the papers was the editor's edit, which was non-factual. Changed the eyewitness account. And how many times is that done? And then it is read by unknowing individuals, and because they weren't there, they weren't there when it happened, they didn't interview the people that were there, so they're taking the count from what they perceive to be the correct account of the situation. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And so we sit there and we feed on things that, are they real or are they not real? And then you throw AI in the mix. Oh, yeah, everybody talking about AI. AI is a tool that can be used just like the internet is a tool that can be used, and it can be very productive. But it can also lead to folly. And you have to know the difference. And if all you do is feed your mind with negative things, whether they're true or not, you're distorting your mind in a way that you won't be able to discern. And discernment is the key. And discernment will be the key for this new year. Because as the earth shakes and the houses rattle, and some of them are going to be shaken to the core, some of them are going to be fallen down to the foundation. And if your foundation is not Jesus, if your foundation is not God, then your foundation is weak. And if you have a weak foundation, nothing's going to stand. So think about this year when you're starting SMART goals. Keep them simple. Don't say you're going to write the book unless you're going to write the book. 1 page a day, 1 page at a time, 1 paragraph, 1 sentence, 1 thought a day. Yeah, then you can say, hey, in 90 days, I'm going to have a start of a book. That's fine. Don't say you're going to write a book and that be your SMART goal. So I'm going to write 1 sentence a day. It's achievable. It's measurable. You did or you didn't. It's repeatable. You can sit there and write a sentence. Make it simple. Floss your teeth. Cut out that extra cup of coffee. I've been doing that lately. Been drinking a whole lot of coffee. Not good for the acid reflux. A lot of acid in the gut system, and it's like no. So I've been drinking some herbal tea instead. I still have coffee. Monday through Friday it's decaf, and on the weekends it's the guilty pleasure of having fully leaded caffeinated coffee. I do drink organic. So I do watch what I'm consuming to a certain extent. But lately, I have been going off the wall with certain things. And so I told my husband I don't want it in the house. Or we only get so many because I don't want all of this. Because if it's there, I'm going to eat it. You don't want to invite temptation into your home. So I grabbed some cookies for my granddaughter, for my grandson, a couple for my husband and I. And I was asked if I wanted more, and I'm like, no, we don't need any more. Don't need no more. Because if I had more cookies in the house, I would eat more cookies. And that might be another conversation. That might be another conversation. So I was going into another conversation. We don't want to do that. So we're going to stick with SMART goals. What are you feeding your brain? What are you feeding your body? What are you feeding yourself spiritually? Because both the body and the mind affect your spirituality. It does. And so, for Memory Monday, because I have done SMART goals in the past, I haven't done them in a while. What are you going to feed your body? What are you going to feed your mind? What are you going to feed your spirit? So that there's growth, so that there's movement in your life, something moving forward positively. All right. Go over to YouTube, Mona E. Harrison, different than my Facebook profile, Mona E. Harrison. Hit like, subscribe, notifications, get all the bells and whistles, share if you find the content is valuable, and do the same here on Facebook. All right. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for Tips Tuesday.